Today we're going to go ahead and scan an image, and I'm going to take a larger image and put multiple scans together. So in order to do this, first we have to go ahead and use the View Scan application, and then once all the parts of my image are scanned, I'll go ahead and put it into Photoshop/Photomerge so you can see how you can let Photoshop put your image together for you. Another option, which you see in the other videos, is that you can put place individual layers together and then manually adjust each one so that all your image fits together. But this way, honestly, is much quicker and probably more accurate. So I'll go to the hard drive file, I open to Applications, and I'm going to the View Scan application, and I'll click that on. And once that opens, you can see some of the different things that you'll need to do. Under Input, you want to scan to file, and this is one of the Canon 8800 scanners. You can do your quality your quality is print, and the other thing you can look at, and some of the other things, is if you go to Output, you can scan it as a JPEG file or a TIFF file. I'm going to go ahead and change it to a TIFF file, and you can also go to the crop file, and you can have crop maximum. There's a variety of other things. I just put maximum because that way then hopefully most of my image will still be intact. So I'm going back to the input file, and I've placed part of my image onto the scanner. And again, I'm doing this in sections, so I want to remember where I'm starting and stopping my image. So I'm going to go ahead, and you can preview your image first to see what it looks like. So I clicked on the preview button. And so there's the first section of my image, and then I'm going to go ahead and push Scan. And you want to go ahead and do the same process over and over with all the different parts of your image. So in my case, I probably will have about 8 different sections. I have sent this hopefully to my desktop, and I'm just going to go ahead and close this, and then I'm going to go ahead and open up the scanner and kind of try and remember where my image stopped. So I'm using my thumb to sort of kind of mark where my overlap might be. I'm going to go ahead and place this down. If you want to go and do preview each time you can, or you can go to scan it, I always tend to just be very careful, so I'm going to preview. Show me what my image is. Again, I want my image to overlap because this way then the computer will know how to put my image together. So I'll go ahead and scan that. And I'm just going to go ahead and scan the different parts of my image together. And what it's done each time is, if you remember when I started, I changed the setting to saving it as a TIFF file. And by doing this, each time what it's doing is generating 2 images. And so one is a TIFF and one is a JPEG image. So, you know, when you're putting your images together, you want to make sure that you're putting either both TIFFs or JPEGs together, not necessarily just you know, a TIFF and a JPEG. So at this point I'm done scanning, and I'm going to go ahead and close the View Scanner. And the next thing that I want to do is to go ahead and to open Photoshop. And the other thing that happened is that all of my images that I scanned look like a lot of the TIFFs went into my little pictures home file here, so I'm going to leave that up momentarily. So the next thing I'm going to do is open Photoshop, because at this point I want to place all of the different layers that I've just done together. So once I'm in Photoshop, the next thing I want to do is to go to File, and I'm going to scroll down to Automate, and at this point I'm going to scroll down to what's called Photomerge and open that. And due to the size of the images that I'm putting together, the canvas size of the completed image will be determined by Photomerge rather than for what I have to do. So the next thing I need to do is to put my files into this section. So I'm going to go to Browse, and let's say in this case I'm going to go ahead and use the TIFF files that are there. So remember, my TIFF files were in my little house. So I'm going here, and I'm going to go to Pictures, and you can see that my 6 different scans are here. So I'll go ahead and click on the first one, and holding down the Shift key, I'm going to click on the other remaining 5 images and press Open, so that they all show up in the Browse box. The next thing I'm going to do is to press OK, and now this is where the magic hopefully works, and all the images will be reassembled into the Photomerge file and placed together, hopefully all in line with each other. Often when you're doing abstract images, they tend to get a little bit mixed up, so it's sort of fun to try and challenge Photoshop. Now that the image has been put together in Photomerge, I have a complete image that's here. And at this point, what I want to do is, you can see all the different layers are highlighted. And I want to go ahead and to merge these layers so it becomes one piece. One of my layers, you want to make sure that all the little eyes that are to the left of each layer are highlighted, or are there, so that you know that that layer is on. I've turned one of them off because one of them didn't scan too well, so I'm not going to include that in my final piece. But at this point, I'm just going to highlight one of the layers, so that the rest of them, they're still visible, but they're not that layer, the main layer. And I'm going to go to the layers, and then I'm going to go to merge visible, so that all of a sudden all of these become one layer. Now you also can see that my image is a little bit cockeyed on the page. So the other thing I can do at this point, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this layer back on, but I'm going to trash that one layer there, so because I don't really need it, is I'm going to go down to the layers marker here, and I'm going to add another layer just so I have a white background on it. So I added my layer, and then I can go to Edit, Fill, and I can just choose white, which will now go ahead and cover my whole area. But if I move this layer below the second, now all of a sudden I have one complete layer. The other thing I can do is, you can see that there's a difference in the whites between the white of the new layer that I've just added and the one that was scanned. So if I go to my magic wand tool, I can make sure that that layer is highlighted, and then I'm going to go ahead and highlight the whites on that part, and I'm just going to delete them. So that way now pretty much all the whites are the same color. I can go to Select, Deselect All, and you can see that now my image is placed on the page. Now if I want to also go ahead and, let's say, rotate my image, I can go down to Edit, Transform, and I can go to Rotate, and now I should get a grid, and if I take this, my mouse to the side, I can straighten that out a little bit if I want to. And I'll just go ahead and press one of the keys so that it will say Apply Transformation, and I'll go ahead and do that. Now at this point, the other thing that I can do, again, is to merge both of my layers, because I don't need that big an image. So again, I'll go to Layer, Merge Visible. And the final thing I can do, because I don't need that much extra room around my image, is to use using the crop tool, or highlighting the crop tool. I can go ahead then and to crop my image so I can make it a bit smaller. So I just will go to Image and Crop, and I'll have a smaller image. Now with the type of stencils that you will be making, one of your dimensions, due to the size of the printer that we're using, has to be 17 inches. So at this point, if I were to go ahead and make an image of this, I'd also want to change my image size. So I could go to Image Size, and at this point you can see the size of my image is 16 by 19. And again, I need to change the smallest dimension to 17, because, or I could actually keep it at this and just have a smaller image. If I were to change this to 17, the size of my transparency that I'll be using is 17 inches by 22. So the 17 by 20.114 will fit into that. So I'll just go ahead and do that. And at this point, then what I want to do is to go ahead and save my image, and I can save it to my desktop and give it a title. And I'm saving it as a TIFF file, and just save it and push OK. And it actually saved it to my pictures, which is also fine. And then close my image, and I'm done scanning. And at this point, then I could go ahead and continue to work on my image, add different things to it, add another layer to it to start to create the print, that will evolve from these different letter forms that I'm using.